This news is funded by viewers like you. Please support our work at democracynow.org/give. Welcome to Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, the War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman. In Gaza, Israeli troops backed by armed drones have attacked the al-Mawasi refugee camp, which Israel had designated as a so-called humanitarian safe zone. Elsewhere, Israeli strikes have killed at least 10 people in Gaza City, while in northern Gaza, Israel's once again targeted the Kamal Adwan hospital, knocking out the hospital's power generators, deploying explosive robots, and planting booby traps around the hospital grounds. The head of the World Health Organization, Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus, condemned Israel's assault, writing, quote, "Recent attacks have further damaged the oxygen supply generators and broken windows and doors of the patients' rooms. The conditions in the hospital are simply appalling. We urge for the protection of health care and for this hell to stop. Ceasefire," the head of WHO said. Here in the United States, the family of Ayşenur Ezgi Aygi, the 26-year-old Turkish-American activist who was shot dead by Israeli troops in the occupied West Bank in September, is criticizing Secretary of State Antony Blinken after talks at the State Department Monday. Family members have been demanding the U.S. launch an independent investigation into Aygi's killing, but said they left the meeting disappointed and with doubts that they will ever receive justice. Aygi, a recent graduate of the University of Washington, was shot and killed by Israeli soldiers after taking part in a weekly protest against illegal Israeli settlements in the town of Beita. Witnesses say she was fatally shot in the head by an Israeli sniper after the demonstration had already dispersed. On Monday evening, Michigan Congressmember Rashida Tlaib rallied with her family and supporters in a protest outside the White House.
We all know that Ayşenur's murder was not a tragic error, as the president shamelessly called it. It was devastating, I think, for her family to hear them say that. And we know that. And she knew that what the Israeli military did to her, they do to Palestinians every single day.
Israel says it's closing its embassy in Ireland over Dublin's recognition of Palestinian statehood and its backing of the South Africa genocide case against Israel at the World Court. On Monday, the Irish Prime Minister, Simon Harris, responded to the news.
You're all here today asking about Ireland's position. What about Israel's actions? What about what Netanyahu is doing to the innocent children of Gaza? This is the diplomacy of destruction. And I think it is deeply regrettable that they took that decision. They have every right to take that decision to close the embassy. I'd rather it didn't happen. We will continue to engage diplomatically. But nobody's going to silence Ireland.
Senior U.S. officials say Turkey's building up its forces along the Turkish border with Syria in possible preparation for a large-scale incursion into territory held by U.S.-backed Syrian Kurds. That's according to the Wall Street Journal, which reports a Kurdish invasion could be imminent near Kobani, a Kurdish-majority city in Syria. Meanwhile, Syria's ousted authoritarian president has made his first statement since he fled to Russia to seek political asylum. In a post on the Syrian presidency's Telegram channel, it looks like Bashar al-Assad is writing that his departure from Syria was not planned and argued that Syria has, quote, fallen into the hands of terrorism, unquote. This comes as human rights groups are warning mass graves across Syria could contain the bodies of more than 100,000 victims of Bashar al-Assad and his father Hafez. One such site is in the Tadamon district of Damascus, where researchers are scrambling to examine evidence of widespread extrajudicial killings, including mass executions. Hiba Zayedin is Syria researcher at Human Rights Watch.
We found human remains, bones, part of a skull, fingers, ribs strewn around the entire area surrounding the mass grave, which shows that really, a lot more happened here than what we already knew. What happened in Tadamon here is just one of many others that are being, found out across the country. And so it is really urgent that at this time, where we can see that there's quite a bit of chaos, given this transition, that there needs to be quick, urgent securing of all of these areas so that we can really find out the truth about these places.
Ukraine says it's killed Russia's general of nuclear defense in a bomb attack on a Moscow street. Kyiv says General Igor Kirillov was targeted over the use of banned chemical weapons in Russia's war on Ukraine. Separately, Ukraine's Special Operations Forces said it inflicted heavy damage on North Korean soldiers fighting alongside Russia, killing some 50 fighters in recent days in the Ukrainian-occupied Kursk region. In Madison, Wisconsin, a 15-year-old girl armed with a handgun opened fire inside a private Christian school Monday, killing a teacher and another teenager before fatally turning the gun on herself. 6 others were wounded in Monday's assault. Police and paramedics were alerted by a second-grade student who dialed 911 to report the mass shooting. This is Marae Jen Charles, mother of 3 student survivors.
We always send prayers. We always send thoughts. And then when are we going to stop doing that? This is not okay. If your kids are at school, they are not okay. If they are at church, they are not okay. If they are outside, elsewhere, they are not okay. Well, where are they going to be safe?
As many as 1,360 children have never been reunited with their parents 6 years after the previous Trump administration forcibly separated them at the U.S.-Mexico border. That's according to a new report by Human Rights Watch, which also warns against the return to power of some of the key architects and enforcers of Trump's zero-tolerance immigration policy, which caused long-lasting harm and trauma to asylum-seeking families. The officials include Tom Homan, who has been nominated by Trump to serve as a so-called border czar. Human Rights Watch has urged the Senate to reject the appointment of any officials involved in the family separation policy, which the group says, quote, constituted enforced disappearance and may have constituted torture, they said. Here in New York, the judge overseeing Donald Trump's hush money and election interference criminal trial has refused to throw out Trump's conviction on 34 felony counts. Judge Juan Merchan rejected arguments by Trump's lawyers that Trump should not have been prosecuted because of the Supreme Court's July ruling that shields presidents from prosecution for official acts. Instead, Judge Merchan noted Trump hadn't even been elected yet in 2016 and was therefore acting in an unofficial capacity when he falsified business records to cover up hush money payments made to adult film star Stormy Daniels. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau is facing growing calls to step down after his finance minister quit amidst a public spat over how to respond to Trump's vow to impose a 25% tariff on Canadian goods. Chrystia Freeland, who was also Canada's deputy prime minister, has been replaced by longtime Trudeau ally Public Safety Minister Dominique LeBlanc, who recently joined Trudeau to dine with Trump at Mar-a-Lago, a meeting that notably did not include Freeland, the former head of the Financial Times. Embattled German Chancellor Olaf Scholz lost a no-confidence vote Monday, triggering an early election in February of next year. Friedrich Merz, head of the center-right Christian Democratic Union, is widely favored to win Germany's leadership, as polls also show the far right could gain a record number of votes. In Brazil, authorities have arrested a military general and close ally of former President Jair Bolsonaro as part of the criminal investigation into attempted coup to overturn the results of the 2022 presidential election. Walter Braga Neto was Bolsonaro's running mate in his failed re-election bid, which Bolsonaro lost to President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva and served as defense minister. Bolsonaro and Neto are among 37 officials who were indicted in November over the coup plot. Neto's arrest Saturday came after Brazilian authorities accused him of obstructing the collection of evidence in their investigation. Back in the United States, workers at 3 Amazon facilities have authorized a strike, setting up a potential work stoppage at the height of the holiday season at warehouses in New York, Chicago, and Atlanta. The Teamsters Union says Amazon failed to come to the bargaining table by a deadline of December 15th. Amazon workers at a Staten Island warehouse here in New York became the first ever to win a union election in the U.S. back in March of 2022. This comes as a new investigation led by Senator Bernie Sanders finds Amazon systematically ignores and rejects recommended worker safety measures and deliberately misrepresents workplace injury data. And a federal judge in Florida Monday sentenced members of a Pan-Africanist group known as the Uhuru Three to 3 years probation. meaning they will avoid prison time in a legal saga that saw the anti-war activists targeted for their vocal criticism of U.S. policy. The members of the African People's Socialist Party were convicted in September of conspiring with the Russian government to sow discord and interfere in U.S. elections, which the accused have rejected as ridiculous. This is one of the Uhuru Three, Omali Yeshitela, speaking after the sentencing yesterday.
I want to say that the only reason this discussion is happening right now about free speech, and the judge was given an opportunity to make the rulings and make the statements that he made, the only reason he was given this opportunity is because we fought. Yeah. If we had laid down, we wouldn't have had this discussion. Yeah.
To see our interviews with Omali Yeshitela and our coverage of this case, go to democracynow.org.